Hi, welcome to Fin Business. We have with us today Mr. Venkatesh Hariharan. He is the Director for FinTech at iSpirit. Welcome, Venkatesh.
Hi.
I understand you're doing a lot of interesting work
Yes.
in FinTech, so let's try to understand some of that
Yeah.
for the benefit of our viewers.
So, iSpirit is a non-profit think tank, and we have been involved in building India Stack as an end-to-end platform for cashless, presence-less, paperless transactions. And
Okay.
so it's basically an end-to-end digital platform which will enable financial inclusion. And our goal is that, we want to take banking to the next 100, 200, 300 million Indians.
Okay.
And to do that, you have to kind of bring down the cost of servicing them in a dramatic way. And I think one of the most exciting possibilities that a platform like India Stack is enabling today is this new era of cash flow based lending, which is an alternative or a new model as compared to the old model of asset based lending, loan against property, etc., etc. So what's happening is today, the opportunity is so exciting that there are almost about 30, 40 new digital lending companies that have emerged, and there's a new organization called the Digital Lending Association that has been formed. And these organizations are looking at not asset-based lending, but looking at cash flows of individuals and businesses and lending on the basis of that.
So the cash flow based lending that has been initiated now, what are the typical ticket sizes? What is the typical duration? What is the typical periodicity of repayment? Can you share some numbers?
What we have seen is, in some cases loans are, so we see one is that the tenure is much shorter. The loans are rotated.
Okay.
So there is basically, the churn of the loans. So it could be, so in one of the cases that I saw, it was, 1 week loans. Which is good enough because, so for this person who is doing a business based on remittances, the way it works is that he has a particular limit with the service provider. And, it keeps his, as in when he kind of does the remittances, his limit is kind of adjusted against that.
Okay.
So if he has a 50,000 rupee limit today, and he gets a loan to increase that to 1 lakh, his ability to do more business goes up.
Can double his business. So all the lenders that are getting into this space where there is typically not going to be any collateral, what kind of recovery mechanisms have they thought of, they built up to ensure that if there is a default, they're able to go after and get their funds back?
So I think in this particular case, basically what the multiple strategies that the lenders are using. One is that you initially your interest rates would be high, and as the repayment track record keeps improving, the interest rates come down over a period of time.
Okay.
The other is at the back end, there will have to be really strong mechanisms to ensure that defaults don't happen. Because if somebody is defaulting, if you look at say microfinance for example, I think one of the challenges that the industry had is that if a person has borrowed money from 5 different agencies, there was no way of kind of, finding that out.
Right.
I think so institutionally at a national level, the industry and policymakers will have to come together to ensure that, that data is shared on a near real-time basis, which is not impossible. You need the policy framework in place, you need the technology in place. And the technology is probably the easier part, getting the policy makers to kind of also agree on that. And the industry also has to kind of, in its own enlightened self-interest, say that, we will share data on defaulters so that, if you come to me, I should be able to see, you've taken loan from 5 different people. This is your income level and this is your capacity to repay. So on the basis of that, you have, holistic information on the basis of, on the basis of which loans can be provided.
Now, the customer is not approaching the financial organization.
Yes.
The financial organization is approaching the customers.
Yes.
So it's actually a complete
Inversion.
180-degree reversal of the traditional process. But one of the things that banks inquire when they lend, or traditional lenders inquire when they lend, is what is the end use of that loan? And that helps them also to make sure that the money is not diverted. And this is more for bigger loans, of course, rather than for small ticket loans. Is there any mechanism or anything similar that
Yeah.
they want to know the end use, they want to monitor the end use?
But I think where the money is given directly to the small and medium enterprise or the individual, at least in the case of SMEs, then the GST data and the other related data, eventually the Bharat bill payment system, etc. These will be proxies to which help a person understand, the bank or the lending institution understand what is the end use of the loans.
I think they'll have to bring in some kind of AI sooner or later because humanly it's not going to be possible to figure this out.
It's what's happening is that every time I meet a company in the area of alternative lending, they say, "Do you know good data scientists?" So the data scientists are the hottest commodities in the area, and absolutely, AI will have to play a really huge role because what we visualize, when we say that transactions are going to go from high value, low volume to low value, extremely high volume, then it will be humanly impossible to kind of monitor that on a real-time basis using manual processes.
What kind of rates are these lenders offering to make it attractive for the borrower who is in any case not going out and looking for a loan? It has to be attractive, otherwise why would someone go for it?
So I think to me that was the surprise, So one of the borrowers was actually taking a loan at 27% interest. And I was pretty shocked, but he said that, see, I don't really worry so much about the interest rate because what it does is, it enables me to do so much more business. So I anyway have the shop, I have my, fixed costs. But, if I am able to increase my transaction throughput, it only increases my profitability.
But any idea what is the typical interest rate? What range? Because 27 is
on the higher
perhaps
side.
on the higher side.
It's on the higher side. So it ranges between 16% to 27% based on the limited field visits that I have done.
Okay. And the interest rate varies per customer? I mean, they're
It varies, so multiple data points. So for example, there's a vegetable vendor who, owns the shop. So he's been there in that particular location for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And, he has a robust business, So in the case of a business like that, his interest rates are much lower. In the case of a business like the payment, the remittance business, where it is an individual run operation, the shop is basically rented, etc., etc. Those are the riskiest category of loans. So the way I think, so what I see is that, the customer, at least, based on the limited sample size, the customers are not that worried about, the interest rate. But I think having quick access to the loan was something that was of importance. And none of them were, really interested. None of them seemed, at all interested in, doing all kinds of paperwork and, the long cycle times that it takes to get loan from the existing formal banking mechanisms.
Do you have an estimate how many borrowers have enrolled with this kind of cash flow based lending?
So I would say, it's very difficult to do an estimate because this whole industry is just taken off.
Estimate?
So I think you have close to about 40, data-driven digital lending organizations in India. So, and all of them are just, some of them are just starting their operations. But I wouldn't be surprised if, in the next 5 to 6 years, this becomes a significant chunk of the existing banking and financial service sector in India. Because this is, one of the SMEs are one of the fastest growing segment of the Indian economy.
Now let's look at it from the customer's perspective. If I want to avail of such a facility, couple of things I would want to look at that could drive my future business. One is to get a long-term loan, maybe 2-3 years, because maybe I want to buy another factory or another shop. I'm not going to pay off that in a couple of months or even not even a year probably. So that is one kind of business expansion. Second is the interest rates make a difference. For example, if someone has very lower margins, then obviously a loan at 12% versus a loan at 24% makes a huge difference. Now typically what banks do is that if you give a asset as a collateral, it could be securities, it could be an FD, it could be gold it could be a property as a mortgage, any of these kind of things, then the interest rates comes down.
Yes.
Do you see the cash flow based lenders, point number one, looking at assets to improve reduce the NPA, and looking at assets to reduce the rate? Do you see any of these lenders
No.
trying this out?
So based on my initial discussions with these kind of lenders, they are looking at a very different model of lending. And I think global experience shows that it is possible to use data to kind of predict customer behavior with reasonable accuracy. The repayment rates, etc., etc. So I think most of these organizations seem to be kind of the very antithesis of the asset-based lending and the loan against property.
Is India a pioneer in this kind of thing, or who is the pioneer if there is something like this happening?
So India is a pioneer in many ways in these areas because, so this kind of a lending does happen in China and other countries, but I think the difference there is that in China it's kind of an oligopoly or a duopoly basically between say Alipay and WeChat. So on the basis of that, the transaction data on Alipay and WeChat, I'm told that there are instantaneous loans that are being provided.
It's a mine of data.
But in this case, what's happening is that there are two organizations which are basically private entities who are controlling the data. In India, iSpirit is proposing an alternative model where users have control and over their data. So if I have data which is banking data, telecom data, etc., etc., I should be able to leverage that for my own good. So I should have joint ownership of that data. I should be able to share all these different pieces of data with lenders.
Good, Venkatesh. That was enlightening, really enlightening, to see a new perspective on financial inclusion rather than just traditional banks trying to make it easier through business correspondence. I think you're talking of a completely new model.
Yeah.
So I hope it works out well for all the stakeholders in the ecosystem. Thank you for sharing this with us.
Thank you. Thanks, Manoj.